Best of 5 against Oliveira less than a week ago that was able to cast, and he actually had a little bit of everything. He had some of that early game magic, some of the mid game magic, but also an excellent late game where he was actually behind. And if I think back of the glory days of Reynor's ZVT, as good as he's always been in this matchup, he doesn't often win from behind, especially not mega late game. It really seems like he's been able to figure a couple of things out while being in Korea for as long as he has been.
All right, well, here we are down in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, map 1 of this best of 3 to close out day number 1 here in Dallas. The red Zerg player from Basilisk is Reynor.
And in the top left side, once more, this man has to face his TVZ demons. Can he put an end to them once and for all? Representing Team Liquid, it's Cure. For a lot of players, this weekend is incredibly important because they're worried about points or they are dreaming about making top 4 as that's their only way of qualifying for the Esports World Cup. Not Cure though, Wadi. I mean, Cure managed to get top 4 at IEM Katowice not too long ago, and that is already going to guarantee him a ticket into those Esports World Cup Grand Finals for StarCraft II later this year. That's gotta be nice for him, right? That it's not all or nothing this weekend. It's like, I'm here, let's win some prize money, let's play my best StarCraft. But if it doesn't go my way, I always have the Esports World Cup to look forward to.
You know, an event he's essentially returned to, right? It was branded differently last year, but hey, man, he got all the way to the finals.
This is our Grand
man.
Finals.
Yeah.
That's funny, actually. I didn't even think about it. But yes, this literally is the Grand Finals of Game S8 last summer.
Yeah, so a little bit of a rematch here, but you're right. I think that pressure kind of taken off. You're not chasing down points, and you can just come in. Yes, obviously, it's a big tournament. You want to do well, but the biggest tournament is out there, and that is obviously an absolutely huge deal. So looking forward to that as we just have a couple of Reapers coming up. That set of barracks on the front, by the way, coming in here from Cure to start us off. So you're going to be seeing both those barracks coming in, and he will get a bunch of Reapers going over the next few moments and start up that pressure.
We haven't seen Cure do any 2x Reaper against Dogs. That's funny that he's bringing it out here against Reynor. On this map in particular, Reynor has done it a couple times against Flam. He did it last week against Oliveira. If Reynor feels that the Terran players are greedy or they don't scout properly, he actually really likes to sneak roaches across the map early on. But there's obviously a time and a place for that. I have a hard time believing that he feels the right move against 2x Reaper is to drop a Roachborn and let's run some roaches to the other side of the map. So I don't think that's really going to happen.
A group of Lings are going to make their way across here. We're even building a few more Lings because, of course, you do want to start controlling those Reapers a little bit. As the Lings are just going to go and nibble, but we are still building units here, and the Marine pops out on the correct side, so those Lings are pretty much forfeit. These Reapers still putting damage out into this hatchery. You do not really want to cancel this, but it is going to be getting kind of dangerously low, but the Queens are now there.
Yeah, the grenades were good, and they zoned the Queens away for a little bit, but I think in the end, just a little too much HP on that hatchery for now. Reynor might be forced to keep those Queens nearby, because you obviously don't want to take more damage, and then suddenly you're not able to drop its range fuse in time. But I think in the end, Reynor is going to be fine here. His tiny circling counterattack didn't do a whole lot, but what it did do is that it bought some time and it kept one of the Reapers at home. This is maybe why it would have been nice if these Queens were a tiny bit more towards this hatchery. Queens now in a very awkward spot. Wadi, they're awfully slow off creep, but they get bounced back on creep, so it's all good.
Yeah, I'm pushing them back and around as the few Zerglings still just moving about to have Link speed, so this defense becomes way more comfortable the moment that upgrade completes. We're starting to see the setup back at home from Cure. Some Hellions on the way, so we'll get some of those to support, and then that bio play behind it as well.
If I think back of the early days of online StarCraft when we had the COVID era, and Cure was actually one of the very few Korean Terrans who did good against Terra and Reynor. A lot of success back then with the Hellbat openings. Just a lot of different kind of Hellbat timings, not always the same amount, not always hitting at the exact same time. Think back of maps like, what was it? The underground map that everybody loved. Damn it, I'm so bad with map names. Not Lost and Found, but 2K Atmosphere. 2K. Like on those kinds of maps, like Cure found a lot of success with Hellbat openings back then. But he's not going to do that. I'm sure Reynor will always think about that when he loads in against Cure, because they had a couple of big online series as Reynor sets up a surround or a flank. But Cure very quick to get away.
Yeah, misses that Cure pull into the right direction at the right time. Make sure Reynor cannot capitalize into Viking, clean up a bit of Overlord action around the map as well, just get rid of some of that vision that Reynor is currently holding on to, and obviously just like we said on the way to Stim, and also that CC just building up into an orbital up in that main base. How many CCs is that? That is just 3?
Yeah, that's the third one.
Oh, I thought it was on the natural, but I think I'm just being crazy. Starport.
He has a lot of stuff in the natural, so you're not that crazy. It's like a starport.
I just saw the starport building there. I thought it was the CC, just because that's where you usually put it, right?
Nice scout for Reynor though, right? These are the little things that is still nice to confirm. As the Lynx on Creep should be able to get a nice little wrap around here around the Reapers, and Hellions pretty good movement so far by Cure. But Reynor, I think, still barely has enough Lynx to reduce these numbers up to the point where it really doesn't hurt that much anymore. And Reynor gets the surround, pins those units to the bottom of that ramp. Well done. I mean, that's picture perfect defense, right?
Yeah, I mean, those Lings are designed to defend against exactly that. Now there's no pressure until Marines are out with the medevacs. So you just get a little bit of time to drone up. You don't need to immediately replace those Lings. That was the map control of Kira in that moment. So this was fine for Reynor. He's happy for that trade. In a comfortable worker position now. There's that Viking put in work, but the Lings are going to go and play Deny on the third base for a bit, so that won't mind for a little while. Force those Marines to move forward, and even going to grab a couple Marines here as well. Reynor is playing on point right now.
Yeah, you can see a bit of the speed difference between these two. Cure is a world-class player, but he gets a lot done with it with great strategies, nice timing, certain setups, while Reynor is a little more about trying to extract max value out of any single unit he has at any given point on the map. It may not seem like a big deal to Marines, but it feels really annoying when you're losing to Marines you're not supposed to lose. I mean, we're like, all right, why you try? Why are you here with those Lings? It's just frustrating. Let's see if Reynor has good defense against this Liberator as well. This seems to be a tiny bit slow. It did pull away. He gets distracted by the Viking at the bottom side of the map. But yeah, Reynor should overall have a speed advantage when these two go head-to-head, but Cure obviously has very good understanding of StarCraft.
It's very true as our Marines and the most medevacs. So there is the next step from Cure. He actually turns back as this Viking is still going to try and find some more damage. One more Overlord, but he will lose the Viking. This Overlord is saved as the double expand from Reynor setting up across all of his bases, pushing all that creep spread forward, and a couple medevacs down the left side from Cure.
A little bit worried for Cure, man. It's really important that something starts going his way here because he's 16 workers behind. Reynor's going up to 5 bases, has an infestation pit. If you compare this to the numbers he had against Dark, those numbers looked a whole lot more promising. And then Oceanborn still didn't go his way. Cure just doesn't quite have enough firepower here without the 1-1 upgrades, without combat shield truly being done. You can't really be battling, but he turns around, he wants to go ahead and battle these queens, does get one of them. That one had a lot of energy as well, but still, I think looking for a little bit more. That queen was inside of the circle, but actually works out for Reynor. But it feels that Reynor is getting away with everything, and Cure is looking for something that's going to make him smile about how this game is going. But so far, not a whole lot to smile about.
Not really much to smile about, you're right. It's been just not great. You know, the little things just going wrong and you're not making any progress. So the creep spread is really pushing out for the Zerg player as well. This double drop has been extremely well tracked. There's Lings, Queens on the way over here. We begin to unload, but Reynol's more or less just there. Medivac actually takes a lot of damage as well, so it's going to be difficult to get out alive. And these are just problems that keep on stacking up from Cure, running around on the edge of creep, but not dropping the scan to get rid of it. You're right, everything is just not quite there for him at the moment.
Perhaps he had no energy there, kind of felt he really wanted to, and he's like, I don't have it. But that's annoying as well, because Reynor was a tiny bit out of position, so maybe those Marines could have put a beating on this hatchery. Don't think he would have been able to kill it, but just softening it up and then making it easier for yourself to kill it later would have been awesome. This was a great little move, pretending you're going to the natural, but instead turns around, grabs 4 workers. Reynor's economy is still insane. Hive is about to come online. 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Reynor can fire up Vipers, and Cure is going to have a semi-heart attack when he sees those medevacs being abducted or a parabomb land. He's like, already? Like, do you see any Ghost Body? Do you see any like Liberators with advanced ballistics? Anything that can deal with Hive Tech Zerg? I don't see it.
I barely see a 4th base on the way, which is kind of the baseline for that. Meanwhile, Ultra Cav and Vipers, you're right, those bottom side drops are going to be in trouble. That probably will be Cure's warning that these Vipers are out. I don't even know what you do. I mean, do you just get ready to start turtling up? But you're not even going to have the tech to do that effectively. It's a rough position for Cure. He's going to start moving out. I feel like that's also not great because Reynor is maxed and he is ready to party.
Yep, Reynor's got a lot of expensive upgrades on the way. One of those medevacs, as picture-in-picture showing us in the bottom right side, did die to a Spore Crawler. I mean, maybe Cure can find a tiny bit of magic. He should never be able to kill Reynor here, but perhaps just a good trade, because the one thing that Reynor does often do, and that's his Reynor style, that's how he loves to play StarCraft, is have an incredibly high drone count. That's really going to pay dividends in a little while, but in moments like this, the maximum amount of army supply that Reynor can have is 106. If you go back to Dark's game on this map, Dark is rolling 132 army supply into the main base of Cure. That's a really big difference.
It really is. A couple queens go down here, so Cure finding a little bit of momentum with this drop, and that's going to help him a little bit. Spores, queens, still in pretty decent positions. A lot of damage going out onto those medevacs. Yeah. This may be their final fight. Over in this, I don't think you ever lift up there because that's just giving units away instead of getting more value. He has set up over on the left, but we are counting down towards Ultralist. Reynor is honestly just looking absolutely fine. This attack on the left is just not threatening, and Reynor has all the time in the world to set up counters, the rounds, and whatever else he wants.
I think he's just waiting for a couple of those big upgrades to come online. +2 carapace, +2 melee, Adreno glance. Could wait for kindness plating, but he's not gonna do that. Reynor says, let's go ahead and take this fight. On creep, off creep, it doesn't really matter. Blinding clouds connecting on the tanks. Nice micro by Cure, but I don't think it's ever going to be enough. Reynor just has too many units. Not with the reinforcements though, coming in from the top left. That's okay, but these reinforcements, Wadi, are no longer battling roaches. They'll be battling ultras with 2-2 upgrades and kindness plating, and this is not the kind of anti-army, ultra army that Cure would ever love.
No, it was spotting for Reynor as he catches a couple units here, and he's actually going to come in and fight this again. Doesn't even have the ultras out just yet. He just believes he's got enough. If Cure wants to step on creep, he's going to say, no, you really shouldn't be doing that. That previous fight was just spot on from Reynor. He comes in before the reinforcements, he cleans up, he uses that lack of supply, which he's losing the supply to replace into ultras. Everything about it was brilliant, and now he's still chasing this down. He just believes he is so far ahead. The confidence right now is really just a storybook about how this game has gone.
And I don't think he's wrong. I mean, links with Adreno are freaking good. If those buy units don't have 3-3, they're gonna have a very hard time sticking around. Just not that much firepower on the side of Cure. Meanwhile, it feels that the floodgates are on, as Penny would say, because Reynor is just going to stream units from the bottom right all the way to the top left. Drops this fire as well. Kind of feels like a showboating flexing fire. I don't think it's really needed. One tank does get saved there by Cure, but Cure really is fighting an uphill battle here. Ultras, and there simply is no answer for Ultras. And people used to meme about them, boy. He's like, oh, if you want to lose a game, you go Ultras. No, Ultras are freaking amazing in these kinds of scenarios. Reynor takes a very convincing 1-0 lead. And this is the kind of game that I think is really going to give Reynor some confidence going into the rest of the weekend too. Because he keeps on telling us, he's like, I know the results haven't been there, but I'm actually pretty good right now, guys. Like, I'm really feeling good. I'm quick, I'm sharp, I feel good about a lot of matchups. It's just some of these EVP scenarios, yes, they are hard, and I'm still struggling, but overall, I'm damn good, and I think that game really showed that Reynor is damn good.
Just proof, right? I mean, he has absolutely all over Cure. He may be struggling a little bit in TVZ right now, but this was just absolutely textbook, every little bit of it. This was really well handled, and this just removes all the map control, and from there, Cure never really did anything ever again. A couple of drops finally got some damage done at some point, but even then it was, at the cost of many more medevacts that had gone down before and after, so everything was rough again. This fight was great because those reinforcements, if they were here, much worse fight for Reynor, and then maybe kind of bad to chase so far off creep with those Banes, but because of the timing he took it at, it worked out. He just, again, kept the foot on the gas pedal from that point on.
The micro was pretty good there by Cure. I kind of feel like he did about as well as he could, but it was just never going to be enough because Reynor was so freaking rich, had so many bases, that even if he would end up losing a base there, he'd still be fine. We never got to see a Ghost Academy. We never got to see a second starport or a fusion core for some advanced ballistics liberators. It almost felt that they were playing a different game where Reynor was just 3 minutes into the future and Cure is playing like, yeah, it hasn't been the best game, but I can still get some value out of Marines and tanks. Nah, that window closed.
Closed hard, man, as we get ourselves readying up for a game number 2. Reynor got to be feeling full of confidence after that one. Cure left to consider what he's going to do about it, because after kind of playing against Dark, he looked okay in those games, but in this last one, he didn't look good at any single point realistically. Well, here we go. Game number 2, it is Alcyone for our second map, and up 1-0 in the bottom left. Dallas, let's make some noise for Reynor!
And if we can do that for Reynor, we can absolutely do that for this man as well. A GSL Codex champ, a finalist of Gamers 8, and top 4 at IM Katowice this year. Top right side, Dallas, stand up for Liquid Cure. They're like, nah, long day, Roddy. Sitting down.
Forward barracks again, down on the low ground. Cure clearly just liking the idea of being able to have something to say about the early game.
I do think it's important to mention that, the first day can be a little bit confusing for a lot of people, even if they're here or they're watching from home. The loser of this series is absolutely not eliminated from the tournament. This is the winner stage, so these guys have performed well in their regions. So they're basically playing an advanced version of the tournament that some of the open bracket players are playing. The loser will just start a little bit earlier in the knockout bracket. They're going to have to play a few more matches than the winner. Winning is nice here because that knockout bracket is terrifying, has a lot of great players making it through. Some of those games are still happening, so the list is too long to mention. TLDR, losing here is not the end for Cure or Reynor, but a win is a whole lot better. It just makes your Saturday a little more pleasant.
absolutely. It means you can just chill out for a couple extra rounds, no concerns. Some of the names are going to be in that knockout round 1. You don't want to be facing up against them. You don't want to get a bad draw. You don't want to get Rogue, who apparently is just on fire again and looking good. So yeah, it's much better to just win here and, like you say, just make tomorrow that little bit easier. First Reaper makes its way across the map here on Alcyone. As the Reapers weren't even that successful last time around. I'm kind of surprised to see kind of round 2 of the Reapers.
Yeah, I also don't know how I feel about it. I feel like the 3-Rex Reaper, when they're hiding a barracks in the main and they're a little bit more committed, I kind of like that. And I know that's a completely different build, because then all of a sudden, yes, the Terran really needs to do a whole lot with it. But if it's just like 1 or 2 Reapers, maybe that tiny little Zergling counterattack that Reynor had was actually very successful in keeping that 4th Reaper occupied, forcing Cure to micro a little bit at home. While he's microing at home, he's getting less value from the Reapers on the other side of the map. Because you have to justify all of this, you kind of want to get a cancel. Or at least force out a lot of Zerglings, and none of those things really happen.
We'll see what he can do this time. 3rd Reaper showing up. He's getting that 4th Reaper again before setting up into the add-ons back at home, and we will have our Queens coming over. That's the perfect first grenade. You want to follow it with a couple more to try and keep the damage going on this. The Lings on the other side will actually nibble at the depot, and that's not turned the Reaper around, so...
Done 4 Reapers once more. Reaper number 4 is on the other side of the map. Cure is going to repair his depot. Should be fine here. Marines are about to pop. So let's see if these Reapers can get something done. 4 Reapers. Getting a bit of damage on the hatchery is nice and all. You want to get a bit more. Maybe a stick grenade. It actually bounces the Queen way off creep, and then these 4 Reapers can just go to town. That is obviously not going to be the one. Oh, Reynor is going to be so happy he was able to get that creep coming down.
I was going to say, I didn't like that Cure left where he was, because it allows the creep to now connect, and that makes it so much easier for Reynor in the last 20 to 30 seconds he needs before Link Speed is up. Already opening the rocks as well to access that bottom side of the map. Just something he would like to have later on for run by, surround potential, etc.
Yep, Reynor overall is going to be pretty happy with this. Cure found some success with the 8-Rex on this map. Reynor was watching those games against Dark with us in the green room as Reynor sets up a surround. Cure does pay attention. One of the Reapers is going to fall immediately, probably at least 2. Nice target fire with the Queens there. The 3rd one gets surrounded as well. In the end, Waddy, these 4 Reapers really not getting a whole lot done. And yeah, these 4 Lings, they nibbled their way through that debris. So Reynor is actually going to get all 4 Reapers at the cost of what? 2 Zerglings?
Yeah, 3 Lings. That was all horrible for Kyo. Once again, it feels like already this early game is going to be about Reynor, and it's just going to be tough for Kyo. A little bit less damage on the map, a little bit less he can take map control with. And Reynor just going to sit here and kind of watch what's going on, because those couple of Hellions, if they try and leave, Reynor is going to jump on it, and he is very happy to take that opportunity if Kyo lets it happen.
Yeah, Reynor, of course, doesn't have to get anything done here. He's already enjoying a 14-worker lead. It's just important for Reynor that at this point you cross your T's or dot your I's and make sure you know what's happening on the other side of the map. Don't be caught off guard. Make sure that nothing sneaks out with you being aware of it. Quick armory, by the way, Waddy. We mentioned helmets a couple of times. I'm going to go for a 16 Marine helmet attack.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the kind of thing which I do like about Kyo's play is mixing these things in, so maybe this is what you want. Problem is, Roaches on the way up, one of the better ways to be defensive. It just gives you such a easier time, a more relaxed time in defending these attacks.
Supply block as well for Cure. It's not the biggest one ever, like half the depot or so, until he's finally able to build some units again. But it does not help. If your early game didn't go well, if you're down 22 workers, even being supply block for 2 or 3 seconds, this is going to put you further and further behind. Reynor's going to drop a couple of Spore Crawlers, and even if that may not seem useful, it's actually pretty nice because you can bring those Spore Crawlers to the front. They can put some pressure on the Medivacs, and obviously these Marines can't stick around without any Medivac support. So Spores may not be as bad here as you may think they are. As long as Reynor gets a couple of Roaches, he should be okay.
Not really concerned for him at all. Honestly, these Hellbats just don't do well against Roaches. We got Roaches coming up, just a few of them, but yeah, maybe a few too many drones. Let's see. And you obviously have Stim with this as well, so there's a little bit of a punch behind those Hellbats. And Q again onto Creep is going to push Reynor back, so Reynor respecting this, loses one Queen already, and yeah, maybe just a little bit too drone happy. He does have the Lings to wrap around with. The Queens will deal damage on the left-hand side as well, and here we go, gets a catch on one Hellbat. Decides to pull off it, go back on, the Lings go down, and this is Reynor absolutely turning out to be in trouble.
Yep, Reynor is in a bit of trouble. More Roaches on the way though. A lot of the Queens still alive, losing 10-11 drones. All of this is acceptable. I'm sure Reynor would have preferred to see less, but now we are looking at 20 plus drones going down. More Queens getting picked up as well, and Cure strikes back. Found himself in a bit of a problematic spot, but once more it's the Hellbat, his best friend, that actually brings him completely back in this game and completely back in this series. Because now Reynor suddenly lost a lot of greens. Is going to have a harder time hitting those injects, spreading creep. And on top of that, is now forced to build even a few more roaches at the point where he doesn't really need it anymore. But he also truly cannot afford to take any more damage from these 8 remaining Marines.
Trying to zone them into this corner. I mean, this is obviously just night and day difference from game 1, where Reynor was able to just tech away and do what he wants. Now he's going to be stuck kind of on roaches. You know, you don't really want to be playing roaches when your economy is hurting, because you want roaches to kind of swarm and overwhelm, and that's not going to happen with a weaker economy. So this is going to be a little bit rough, and now you've got to deal with, you know, potential further drop play with those low mobility roaches as well. So these are all issues for Reynor. After Cure really strikes hard after a rough opening. Reynor again was just a little bit too trigger happy on the drone count.
Yep, and we said it, right? The only thing that Reynor really had to do was keep a close eye on everything that Cure is doing. Make sure you're aware of what's happening and what's being sent out to the center of the map. Reynor did not see it, lost vision of the amount of Hellions that were produced. Obviously didn't see them morph into Hellbats until they were literally on creep. And it makes it painful, but since Cure doesn't quite have an immediate follow-up and Reynor is sneaking out a couple of Infestors now, even has the confidence to still go for an 8-minute hive party. After losing 20 plus drones, he's still firing up the 8-minute hive. Seems a little bit ambitious. I almost feel like maybe get a few more roaches, get a few more Infestors, replace all those queens you've been losing and make sure you don't take any more damage before you do that. But Reynor seems to think that the quick hive is still the way to go.
Yep, just going to get into it ASAP. Probably just feels as though if he ends up against any sort of a tank push without Vipers, he probably just dies. So you may as well try to get the Vipers up kind of quick. And you see the Marines trying to drop into this base, but Reynor does get there. Q's decided to pull back. Of course, Q back at home just starts up a 4th base. The 2nd factory is coming online with the tech lab, so it's going to be super tank heavy for the foreseeable future. And he actually goes straight into the Lurker Den as well, so just wants to try and turtle up and survive. If he can get there, then great, but getting there is going to be tough, but that's what these Infestors are meant to help out with.
Yep, lends a tiny fungo, gets 4 Marines or so, but Cure is sending out more forces to the bottom side of the map. And this is basically where Cure is supposed to find more damage. The supply is looking very good for Cure for the first time in this series. Reynor has spent a lot of resources on A, reproducing all those drones he's been losing, B, those fancy upgrades, Hive, a Lurker Den now as well. None of that is really going to help him, not taking any damage here. And this is almost where I wish that Cure would grab a few more units. He's got 92 army supply, Wadi. I don't see it. It's not those 2 medevacs on the right. He must have so much at home, and there is really no reason to have this much at home when Reynor is hanging on for dear life on his own side of the map.
No, it's time to push and keep on pushing and just never look back, right, as we're going to have drops everywhere. There's a little bit of a skirmish going on in the center as well, just fighting over the ability to move through here. But yeah, as Reynor kind of contests that, he just doesn't have the numbers anywhere else, and that is what Kira is starting to take advantage of now. Reynor pulls all the way back, but that's going to let Kira take position with the rest of his army, and he will just keep dancing around between those bases, pushing onto this group spread a little further. Reynor's got his first couple lurkers on the way up, but not sure they won't save him against this amount of siege tanks.
Kure still showing a lot of respect to Reynor's army. I really feel that Reynor's army is not that great at the moment, but Kure just wants to make sure that he does not throw. Has probably lost a few too many games to Dark, where a lot of things went his way, and suddenly he got gobbled up by 200 supply, 1-1 Roach. And he's like, oh, come on, that cannot happen anymore. But now he did kind of give Reynor time to get the first lurkers out. They don't have seismic spines yet, even though that's 20% on the way. They won't have adaptive talents for a little while, but just a few lurkers can already truly change the scope of this battlefield.
Yeah, we have seismic spines coming up, so they will be somewhat effective, and Reynor just kind of hanging on in there, and he has gotten himself maxed out, so he's given himself chances, he's given himself the opportunity. And if there's one thing Akira hasn't really done, it's kind of set up for the much further future from now. A couple corrosive files, huge fungal growth. We've got a follow-up available as well. A lot of Marines will start dropping down there, so that's a little bit of something for Reynor. And he's got some lurkers in position, gonna get broken through, though he just doesn't quite have the reinforcements he needs. He's coming through the gold base, though, to surround the siege tanks. And he does get rid of a full medevac there as well, but Kure seemingly has too much. Yep,
Kure's Marines are still going strong. Reynor has a bit of money in the bank, but he's just not quite able to spend it. We've got 14 Hydras on the way, a bunch of Zerglings too. Careful with those medevacs, by the way, Kure, because a lot of Hydras just popped, and I hope for you they didn't pop. A couple of lurkers randomly in the center. Kind of like it, right, to mess with the reinforcements. Does Reynor have enough firepower here? That felt like a really close fight. Is Reynor hanging in there, Waddy?
He is hanging in there. He's going to chase this a little bit, try and burrow up those lurkers. He does not have that quick burrow upgrade, right? So that's one thing he's missing amongst everything that's going on. Got a few Hydras coming over. The medevac will go down. I'm just going to be seeing this other medevac going to try and get away, but there's a couple Hydras here, a couple Hydras there, and this is going to be one of those scenarios where Reynor has held on, and this is now Kure having to approach a different stage of the game with Ghost on the way up. Yes, Reynor's not in a great position, but he's alive, and when he's alive, there's a way.
Yep, he is alive, but he lost a lot of queens, lost a lot of drones once more. This is a 12-minute game, and 59 drones have died. 0 SCVs have died. 59 drones have died. It really goes to show that Cure has done a lot of things right in this game. I also love how quick the Ghost Academy is this time around. Felt like he had a good read on how Reynor was playing. He's like, all right, if you're not attacking me with roaches, clearly you're going for a quick hive. Clearly you want to get lurkers out. So I love how quick Cure is about those ghosts this time around. Stims into the natural one more time. Says 59 drones is nice. Let's go ahead and make it 67. Get another queen as well. Reynor is spending that cash that he was sitting on. He's firing up some extra upgrades. The longer it goes, perhaps the more likely it is that Reynor can crawl his way back into it. And it does feel that Cure's got a lot of momentum at this point. And you look at the creep on Oceanborn, it was everywhere. Reynor saw everything, allows him to get great surrounds. This time around, no, it's Cure who's doing a 10 out of 10 job in making sure creep stays where it starts, near the bases, that's okay, but no more than that.
When the Terran has time like this, because the Zerg is so contained with no creeper and everything else, they just do what they want, right? They can build a whole bunch of CCs, they can get that ghost count going. You can just play a slower game because it just gives you such a good setup to play that slower game off of. A couple lurkers here do get caught, and you're going to see those knocked down by that bio. Got a little Ling run by stand up in that right side. Those minerals mined out, and that's a cute little move. It's not Ling, sorry, it's Roach who's going to run up here. Unfortunately, there's a ton of reinforcements ready to go, so cute idea. But, well, Cure was just in position.
Wrong neighborhood. I think the Viking really helped out there. It's a low HP Viking, and Cure at one point just said, let's chill it on the right side of the map. You can give me some permanent vision there. Rainer's making a tiny bit of progress. He's nowhere near maxed out. Cure's got a bunch of ghosts. I don't even see any overseers here for Reynor. He's going to fire up 3 overseers immediately. I don't think Reynor expected quite this many ghosts yet, right? Maybe he thought like, okay, it's kind of a bad, scrappy game, but I should still have a shot. But against this many ghosts, yeah, these lurkers are going to have a very difficult time. I do love how hectic Reynor is making the game. Roach is in the third, lurkers in the natural. A couple lurkers are going to try to go into the main base, but Cure's defense is perfect.
Yeah, you know what? Lovely idea, because it really is the way you could get back in this. Force him to make mistakes, or give him a chance to make mistakes, right? If he doesn't defend this properly, you can drag yourself back in it, but instead, Cure defends it very well. We're going to stim into all of these lurkers because there's just nothing in front of them. The things finally flood in, and that looks a little bit better, but if they were there a bit sooner, it would have been great. Yeah. We continue to fight, the Ghost cloak up, those Lings will melt, and Cure will continue his rampage onwards to a tied-up series.
A lot of the lurkers died right by the time those Zerglings showed up. That could have actually been incredibly scary for Cure, but in the end it was okay. The drones are gonna battle the Viking, and the drones win. But that doesn't make this massive Terran army disappear in the center of the map. Cure takes out the hatch, a bad start. Not often do you see a Terran lose 4 Reapers for 3 Zerglings, but 10 minutes later be absolutely flying, be all over the map and ready to tie things up. But that is what has happened over here. Cure brought back the Hellbat. Gumio found some success with the Hellbats recently as well. And Cure says, alright, how did I used to do it again against these boys? Yeah, that's right, with Hellbats, because those European Zergs love being greedy. Not a build that I would recommend against Dark, because you're going to run into 22 roaches, but Reynor was just a little too greedy this game.
What a dream for Cure being able to kind of pull out builds like this, because you're right, you play against Dark, and you walk into the guy that just didn't want to build drones past the normal numbers, so he obviously has army ready. Another lurker here. Again, Chaos kind of trying to go everywhere, play everywhere, but Reynor is just so far stepped back in this game. The creep is absolutely nowhere. He's trying to still get a 5th base here at 15 minutes deep. And yeah, like a single lurker and all. It's just not enough.
I do kind of want to see Cure continue to attack though, right, Wardy? Like, I'm not sure what we are doing right now with the 100 and something supply. I guess he's just rotating over to the left side. He's trying to prevent a base going up at 9 o'clock. That's fine and all, but like, Cure, mate, you have him on the ropes. You don't want to let these Zergs recover and let them max out one more time, because if the Viper numbers go up, if the Lurkers number go up, it can be scary. Cure says, don't you worry, we're gonna go for it one more time. Snipe, peel, peel. And we're all tied up over here after a victory for Cure on Alcyone. Well played, rough start, Wardy, but hey, just a great goal with the Hellbats.
Absolutely no, he just picked a great build and he caught Reynor exactly where he wanted him. And it was one of those moments where, as well, Cure, like we said, did not have the best of starts, and because of that, it makes even more sense to kind of risk it and do something where it's like, well, you know what, I gotta get something done now. And he did not just get something done, he basically won the game off that, because that set up the entire future. Great job from Reynor trying to stay in it and extend and give himself chances. But yeah, obviously better job by Cure just not let it happen. When all his lurkers are running in the natural, that's one of those moments that can start to go very wrong.
Yeah, he played well.
But yeah, he just said, no, I'm not letting any of that go down. and really, again, made sure to close out this game, which he didn't do quite so much against Dark earlier.
Also love how he executed this, by the way. He left that one hellbat in the back that made it very difficult for Reynor to get any value out of those remaining links that he still had. And then sometimes what I see with these hellbat marine attacks, they just kind of stand there and they start shooting at the hatchery. And I'm like, the longer you wait, the worse it gets. But I felt that Cure made all the correct choices. Stepped on top of those queens, got a lot of damage on top of those queens. One or two of them went down, and he said, all right, I know what's going to happen now. If I keep on fighting the queens, I'll chase you too long, I'll give you time. And that's when he turned around, and that's when he started massacring all these drones, and he got himself more than back into the game, if not just put himself in a very sweet spot. Well done, that's great decision making by Cure, and yeah, these were the links that we both got a tiny bit excited over, like, oh, but yeah, most of the lurks died right before the link showed up.
If those lings were there 2 seconds earlier, but the lurks are still alive, they keep a few units in range of lurkers, could have actually been a big turning moment. It could have been a mistake from Cure, but obviously the lings on their own were never going to change anything. As we are set up to go into game number 3 for our final map of the day. And it's been fun. Some fun stuff happening in the open bracket as well, Roddy.
Yeah, I see that Beyond has been able to get a 2-1 victory over Stu. That's not something I was aware of earlier. That means that we have a Shopify Rebellion upper bracket final. Beyond or Lambo will guarantee themselves into the knockout round 1. And then there is a good chance that another Shopify boy is going to make it through the lower bracket, because the captain Harstem is still in there as well. Overall, it's been a very fun day. Bonnie and Scarlet are 1-1 in the upper bracket final to make it into the knockout bracket. And of course, the knockout bracket starts tomorrow morning. We promise you that the tournament will be very easy to follow tomorrow and nothing but bangers. Actually, can't wait to see who's going to play who in the knockout bracket. It's always such an exciting moment at the end of a long day of StarCraft.
Yeah, when I finally get rid of all these triple elimination things and start to knock some people out every single match, it really puts a lot on the line. Top left-hand side, and a Red Zerg play from Basilisk. This is Reynor.
And in the bottom right side of side Delta, we're taking one final look at the main base of the man who has had a lot of great tournament performances throughout his long career. Representing Team Liquid, our Korean Terran player, Cure. Cure always seems so chill when he's playing. We're always like, StarCraft, very stressful, very intense game. I'm already dreading the moment that I come back after not playing ladder for like 10 days. I sit on my chair, I start shaking. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to play. Meanwhile, Cure playing against the best players in the world. He's so chill.
The most stressed I've ever seen Cure is like he blows out his cheeks and just like a slightly exhaled.
Yeah.
Like,
or when he lets go of that like very innocent tiny smile, he's like, I'm dead.
Yeah. It's very minimal. Two Reapers on the way up again. He just, something about this. It hasn't worked out twice, but he just likes the follow-ups he can do off of it. Maybe there's something early he just likes about having these Reapers that stops Reynor from getting active.
What it could also be is that either Cure has played a couple ladder games against Reynor and he still believes that this is the right way to play, or because Reynor has been spending like 6 weeks or so at this point in Korea, if it's not been 2 months already. Maybe Cure has been talking to some of the other Korean Terrans that run into Reynor whenever Reynor is laddering. And they're like, hey man, like, trust me, 2x Reaper, that's the way to go against Reynor. Maybe they kind of convinced him where he's like, it's not really my build. Great Reaper movement, puts it right next to the drone, and he gets the kill. It's really well done. Reynor obviously tried to save that by morphing it into his Spore Crawler. Cure knows about that, so he right-clicks the Reaper right next to it. And obviously a drone cannot morph into a building if there's a Reaper blocking it. Well done. That's a great start for Cure, man. That's really going to give him some wings, because it almost feels that he was dead and buried in this best of 3. He's completely back into it, Wad. It's already the best Reaper opening, by the way.
Yeah, it's already better than the previous 2 games openings combined. So, yep, that first grenade really set off some magic, because now we're going to see Lings coming down this ramp. 1 Ling, 2 Lings going down. Now we start to trade HP on these queens as well. Damage being done, not bad from Cure.
And don't forget, that's going to be difficult for Reynor to sneak out a drone, right? Reynor was actually sitting on quite a few minerals there for a while. I think he was hoping to sneak it out, just wasn't quite able to. There's no creep really going down this ramp. And meanwhile, Cure playing a very economic game behind all of this, going for a 3rd command center. Yeah, starting to understand why Cure likes this opening. If it would always go like this, you got to be happy with it.
It's the beauty of StarCraft. We have game 1, the opening doesn't work, the entire game is just Reynor crushing it, and now you turn it around, now we're in game 3, it's all tied up. The story can flip so quickly as well. Playing straight to Roaches and a lair here from Reynor.
What happened to Zergling's speed, by the way?
Just never started.
No, he never started it. That's kind of sad, by the way, for Cure. Cure giving Reynor some respect here, I think. He's like, oh, okay, I should probably go home. Link speed is about to kick in. Cure could have stuck around there for a very long time. Just spam grenades, be annoying, keep those queens at bay. Further delay this a third command center. Reynor is actually kind of getting away with murder here. Skipping Zergling speed altogether. Now it's going straight into a very quick lair. Might even do something aggressive himself. Think of some of those very popular ZVP builds of the past. Queens, Roaches, Ravagers, Dropalords. Why not, Waddy?
Oh, absolutely. These are the things that you have an open door with, and you know that, Cure's been going Reapers into some Hellions as well. Hellions do not help much against Roaches, so that's one of those things where actually for Reynor, it could be, you've seen how he's been playing. If he keeps playing like this is a much better follow-up for him. Going to play into that Carapace upgrade off the Evo Chamber, so whatever comes out of this is not going to be too aggressive because it's at least going to give time for an upgrade to be done. And that lair is done, so it looks like just Carapace, Roach speed, maybe a bit further down the line we'll still have a timing in play. 2 bunkers on the way, by the way. Cure is afraid of Roaches.
And rightfully so, because you mentioned that he's building a lot of Hellions. He likes building Hellions, but yeah, Hellions you produce up a factory that's connected to a reactor. Can't build any tanks. If you don't have any tanks, Roaches are a problem. And Reynor has done quite a few of these aggressive Roach builds in the past. Reynor has also been vocal about it, that he felt like, yeah, maybe I need to switch it up a little bit more. Can't always be the old school macro Zerg that just scouts, reacts, defense, gets a great economy, and take the game from there. He too wants to be a bit more unpredictable. And sometimes that reminds me of the days where Sero all of a sudden started being a bit more aggressive, and we're all like, why is he doing this? Like, he's so good in everything. Like, he doesn't have to. But it really felt for Sero back then, as the Reapers and Aliens here are going to try to get a couple of workers. Shouldn't get too many. Might be able to get a queen, though. What a queen is this? Not bad. It kind of felt that it was one of these, I'm going to take 1 step backwards to take 3 more steps forwards in the end. And I'm not just going to be the great, solid Zerg that can always macro. No, I'm going to actually make them respect my potential all-ins too. And obviously, if you can get that reputation, if you can show your opponent you mean business, you become even more terrifying than you already are if you're one of the best Zergs in the world.
That adaptability goes a long way, that is for certain, as we do have Reaper Hellion just going to move out over that left side while the drop's heading up around the top. So we're going to see action everywhere. Of course, there's Roach focus from Reynor, which means it's a little bit less mobile, and we talked about that last game as well. So dealing with drops and so on can be a little bit tough. It's not being seen until just now. Reynor has not much position. Spore, a couple of Roaches getting there. Maybe that is enough. Well, Cure's going to drop into it. Now a couple of Roaches take damage, but it's bought enough time to get the other Roaches here. And that is a defense made as the Reaper Hellion goes diving by, and we're going to get maybe a drone or 2 transferring. As the Roaches continue to chase that Roach speed, of course, making them nice and quick at this stage.
Yeah, not a whole lot there for Cure. I kind of like what Reynor did there. Like, alright, it was just too greedy in the last game. Let's make sure I'm not making that same mistake again. He's on 63 drones at the moment. We know that Reynor loves to get a few more, and he's absolutely going to get a few more. But let's first invest in some solid defenses, actually get a decent amount of units out. And after that, sure, we can go into our heavy drone counts. It can go all the way up to 90 plus, but just having those 15 plus Roaches or so early on, it makes your life so much easier. Because yes, it is difficult to deal with medevacs that are bouncing all over the place, especially if you only have like 5 Roaches and a couple Queens. If you have 15 Roaches, it becomes a lot more doable.
Well, a few Marines going to come stimming on forward, so we're going to get a couple Creep Tumors. Roach Ravager going to meet it again, but we get rid of the Ravager. I mean, if there's a pickup to be made, that would be it. And Cure now rallying through the center as well. Another Ravager in the front to be careful about. And I think Reynor's got the Roach support though, so he will turn this one around. As Cure, of course, at this stage just says, cool, I'm going to keep on building tanks. Eventually going to have a solid Marine tank army that is going to be very good against your Roach-based forces. Of course, Reynor's making the switches. The Hive's coming up, so you have access to Vipers. Bane speed is on the way too, so it's going to be more Ling Bane focused on the ground as well. These are all things that help you into the next stage of the game as Reynor in a big, big way.
+1 melee, I'm sure he's going to fire up Adrenal Glands as well, as soon as he's got the money and mostly the gas for it. He's got some minerals in the bank. So yeah, I like the quick Vipers here. Overall, I think as Reynor probably feels, let's just get maxed out, let's get some map control, get a bunch of bases, and slowly but steady really go all out. Had Burrow on the way there for a little bit, decided to cancel it. I was wondering about the Ultralisk Cavern. I was like, yes, Ultras are amazing and stuff, but is this the kind of game where you drop a quick Ultralisk Cavern? Reynor apparently seems to think that the answer is yes, as he's heavily supplied Bloodbody. Very uncharacteristic for Reynor. 176, 176, 3 Overlords on the way.
Yep, definitely, like you say, uncharacteristic. One of the players that you just really don't expect that macro sloppiness from at all. As Marine's still trying to get through. I was going to say Q's doing a good job denying the creep everywhere apart from in the middle. And now these final few creep tumors go down the middle. The creep is not really going to be that far out there from Reynor, so something to kind of keep in mind that, again, compared to Oceanborn at game 1, it's a very different situation. A couple of Roaches here will get caught as Q starts to set up and starts to get these tanks to move. moving. Would love to get them in position across the map if he can do so safely.
I almost feel like it's too late, right? If the Viper's already out, they've got some energy. It might be better to chill. Reynor is going to take a fight very far away from his own bases, but he just really believes in the power of Lightning Cloud, and rightfully so. 3 tanks go down immediately. The last one will fall too, as the Ravagers were able to spam that corrosive Bow's ability. Nice job though by Cure, as he's dropping in the top side of the map. Reynor still sharp, cancels the hatchery in time, so he gets some of the money back. First Ultra's on the way. Cure obviously does not have a Ghost Academy yet. Still fighting more damage here, by the way. What a drop body.
Fantastic drop. 6 drones going down. I mean, this drop has obviously forced Reynor to absolutely think about coming back home as well. Small queen damage gets a little dangerous, but we're okay for the moment. Those Medivacs will be out alive as we actually can catch a drop coming down the left-hand side. So Reynor, big one in the center. Q immediately goes into kind of emergency mode and starts dropping all over the place to just keep Reynor back and to give himself some breathing room. I'm
surprised that he goes so heavy on the Vikings, by the way, before dropping a Ghost Academy. I was like, yeah, okay, maybe he feels like he's got enough Medivacs, but what are all the Vipers really going, the Vikings really going to do here? Sure, you can shoot at the Vipers, but I feel like the Vipers will still get their ability off. They're still going to drop a couple of Blinding Clouds, maybe even a Parabomb. Vikings are pretty expensive. I would have loved to see Cure maybe save up some of those resources and just build a few Ghosts immediately, because that's what you're really going to need. And he's going hard on the Vikings.
Yeah, really interesting, because you're right, they're not cheap units, they add up. They're very mineral expensive as well, so you just don't really feel like that's kind of the priority. If you just get Ghost up a little bit sooner instead, you have a potential EMP or Snipe Vipers still, right? And probably come out with the same outcome, so very interesting choice. Reynor just spreading out, taking bases, all his upgrades coming through, obviously reaching the later game in a much more comfortable position this time around. And that's going to bode well for him, but honestly, so is Cure.
Yeah, I was about to say, same can be said for Cure, because obviously game 1 we gave all the compliments to Reynor, rightfully so. Reynor was all over Cure, but in game 2, Cure obviously got a lot of damage with the Hellbats, and he got himself very far ahead. Wasn't very fair to judge Cure on like 10 minutes into Oceanborn, because he was pretty much dead. He was just so freaking far behind. Now we kind of got a game that both players will be able to work with. Maybe Reynor is a tiny bit happier than Cure, but there shouldn't really be a whole lot to it. Both of them are able to do their thing. Both of them are going to be able to produce a very strong army. And I'm actually incredibly curious to see how this one is going to play out. Because, yeah, they get both a convincing win on the board in the end. Even if Cure's one came from a bit of an awkward spot. And the Hellbats got the job done. Now we both have what we want. And I'm actually, wow, 3 more factories, by the way, Waddy. Alrighty, well, that's apparently where Cure wants to go here in the late game.
Reynor, the Spire this time around is not a showboating Spire, right? This is something you're probably going to need at some point. Start working on some upgrades as, okay, we're just building a bit of everything, aren't we?
I was looking at 7 command centers. I don't see that very often. Like, yeah, okay, we know that in late games they like to build a lot of additional command centers. Morph a couple of them into planetaries, but to go from like 0, 1 to 7, that's pretty wild.
All at once as well. That is absolutely a huge investment. As the Parasitic Bomb comes down, Vikings are going to get caught in that, and that is a splash damage being done. Reynor also, by the way, getting that Nidus network up, which allows you to start doing even more pressure around the map, so setting that up as well. It's going to be a big deal as we just chase these couple Medivacs away here. Reynor on 2 different sides, actually, because he's on the right as well. So just trying to see what is going on. They're not able to break through anywhere.
You want to share that update that I just saw you looking at, Wardy?
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. Scarlet, 2-1 Bunny. What a run she just had. 2-1 Nightmare, 2-1 Bunny into the knockout bracket. That's a result I would not have bet money on this one.
What a day so far for the Shopify Rebellion. They literally have not lost a series yet, unless it's that 2 players playing against each other. Lambo obviously took out Hearthstone. Other than that, every single Shopify player has won every single series so far. Beyond on fire, Lambo on fire, Hearthstone is doing his thing now in the lower bracket, and Scarlet making her way into tomorrow. Awesome stuff.
Had a couple of snipes and still coming down here from Cure, but nothing too major. As Reynor basically trades out Roaches, he's replacing it with what is seen as more useful units at this stage. Lings, Ultras, these are way more valuable at this stage of the game than just a few Roaches. And as we are going to see Corruptors out as well, going to get rid of some of those Vikings that we never really got to see come into play too heavily. And Reynor trying to deny this forward base. There's a bit of action on the right side once again. Reynor never just making one thing happen. He's always in multiple places in these fights.
We saw Dark put a lot of emphasis on saying like, alright, Cure, 4 bases, it's all fine. It's hard for me to really do a whole lot about it, but at 5th base, I'm gonna make that hell for you. You're not just gonna get 5 bases against me. Because right now, Cure, like, yeah, he's got money, he's maxed out, he's got a lot of infrastructure, but eventually he's going to need 1 more base at least to really make this sure that this game goes on for a long time. Reynor is gonna do whatever the hell he can to make sure that Cure can never enjoy 5 base economy, as the Vipers are landing crazy far up Dark. and these Ultras are pushing the Marines all the way back. Marines were looking for their Ghost friends, and finally the Ghosty friends have shown up.
So, while for some of the snipes to stop, but we got there in the end. The top right side, we actually see picture-in-picture. Kua finds a cancel, so not making the base taken from Reynor simple. As Reynor still happy to just keep on going Ling Ultra, and Infesta being added on as well now, but that general composition seems to be his go-to for the moment. Doesn't feel the need to tech up beyond it. Meanwhile, look at Kua. Thor's on the way. Usually you see that as the Terran thing, and oh my goodness, there's a threat of Brood Lords. Right now, those Thors do not feel like they're the most necessary of units invested into.
Well, they're always pretty, at least big, clunky.
Yeah, I mean, not wrong.
They might fulfill some roles, we'll see. In choke points, I think they have a lot of potential. Maybe that's what Cure just wants, right? Like slowly but steady take that 5th base, and if he feels he puts a bunch of Thors around the corner, backed up by tanks, that is going to be very hard for Reynor.
And he does have good upgrades for mech as well.
Yeah.
Those 3's halfway done, so actually has very good mech upgrades, so those Thors are going to pack punches when they do fly up their shot. Ling's going to commit onto this base a little bit. He just wants it. He wants to force it to go up in the sky. It will die. And that's a big win because, again, we're just playing deny the 5th base at the moment. If Reynor stops Q again, a 5th, he is extremely happy with his money investment. We're going to see some Ultras get on top of a Thor, but otherwise, the Ultras just have to run away as some snipes start to line on up. So Reynor making moves. Q taking some losses, but nothing that's going to push him too far off the deep end just yet.
I was about to say, would love to see a few more Infestors, right? This is always where Dark finds magic with those sharking Infestors around the map, lands a fungo, and that's where you can punish some of these ghosts if they're actually chasing. I was just giggling earlier about those Marines. Kind of felt like that's what a Marine nightmare is made out of. Like it's a horror comedy movie and like running back, being chased by a big bad monster. He's like, I know my friends can take care of it, but where are they? And the Marines kept on running for the hill. In the end, the ghost showed up. Marine saved one.
Just to keep him alive is Halbatsko is going to get active over here. Reynor with a big attack again. Guess where? The 5th base. This is the one place he does not want to let happen, as these Ultras are going to get a hook around the mech force at this point, and he is just going to crush on through that. Units to keep on going. SDVs keep running back through as their long distance mine, and we are just going to see Banes roll into this mineral line. Suddenly we're down 33 workers, and Kua has just been dismantled by one deadly push. Ghosts are probably going to be the saving grace and some Thors, as that was huge from Reynor with money to rebuild into a maxed out army once again immediately. Massive play from Reynor.
Yeah, Reynor's going to be very happy with all of that. In the end, maybe stuck around like a split second too long because that ghost count was actually very high there, and there was still a couple of Thors as well saving the day. But hey, if we are playing the you're not allowed to get a 5th base game, we're doing a 10 out of 10 job. We're doing such a good job that at this point, Cure has to get back up to 4 bases. And Reynor actually has a couple of burrowed banelings here as well. I mean, Cure built 7-8 command centers a little while ago. He's been losing a whole bunch of those.
It's definitely not been an easy time for him, as now we have lurking Infestors around as well. As a missile turret coming up, so Kira is obviously starting to take care against that, but this lack of economy right now is a little bit brutal, as those Banes, obviously 5 may be a little bit excessive.
Oh, there's one Baneling remaining. Okay.
Get that too.
Hey man, the Orbital's now already low on HP. Send it! +2 flyer attacks on the way as well for Reynor, as he's still working with 3.7k minerals and 2,000 gas. Technically, Reynor could continue playing the same game as he was playing for a little while, right? Do you really have to send it into the 4th base now? Kind of like what he was doing about just denying the 5th, but perhaps because it went so freaking good last time around, he says like, let's just continue to do this. Cure has always non-stop been trying to find some damage as Reynor is pulling the trigger. We saw it on the mini-map. That is a lot of Lings, Banes, couple of Ultras as well. It is no planetary anymore at the 4th base, and it kind of feels that every trade is going to be good enough for Reynor because of how strong his economy is. These ghosts are running for the hills, but once more, 17 SCVs go down. A couple of refineries burning down. Not the best fight ever for Reynor, but given the amount of bases he has, given the bank he has, the economy that he's still working with, he's going to be okay with it.
I think he's killed just about enough SCVs to make sure of that as well, right? Because there is a concern, you give him a few too many units there, you know, his full bank gets spent more or less on remaxing. So it's a little scary, but the fact here is on only 22 SCVs means he really cannot keep this up for a very long time. And so I think that's where Reynor has made the correct assessment that previously, and with this attack, he is just getting enough done to make this all right. Yeah. And that Infesta is back look, and again, obviously, if it can pop up and hit those ghosts with the fungal and the Banes run in,
that could be it.
Yeah, that could just do it. GG right there.
Reynor's firing up a few more overs. He has 17 Banelings as well as 5 more Ultras are on the way. And I think he's indeed looking for that game-ending fungal. Cure, obviously, because he lost a lot of those command centers, has not been able to scan a little while for these sharking Infestors. If a Terran is just casually sitting here at 10+ orbitals, they'll throw down these scans around for a while. Reynor probably knows that missile turrets are on the way and he's ready to go for it one last time. It's gonna maybe hit right before some of these upgrades of Cure. Most of them will actually finish up. +1 is about to finish up as well, but here we go. And keep your eye on that Infested. The Infested got scanned, by the way, so that one got picked up immediately. Is this still the fight for Reynor then, Waddy?
He seems to think so. Those Banes get to crush through a lot, but not a lot of Ultras are going to survive up to the high ground. The Banes find the Ghost. Okay, they don't die, but they do take some damage. Reynor is still ahead on supply. It really is just the fact that Q has not got that much economy. I'm sure we've got a few orbitals trying to drop mules, but Reynor also slowed down now because he's kind of out of money, so you can't really pull an attack like that again. He starts 12 drones himself, and Q will just mule up the remnants of that base. But this might give Q time to establish another base, because I don't know if Reynor can fight one more time.
It was like the single Marine drop, right? That single medevac with 8 Marines on the right side of the map during that great fight for Reynor. But during that great fight, as this is excellent, by the way, tanks are always expensive, and it's just a couple circlings here for Reynor. -4 siege tanks, just like that. It's going to make it a whole lot harder for Cure to even dream about moving out. As he does get his hands for now for a brief moment at this 5th base. Obviously a lot of minerals left here. Reynor's going to see that almost immediately with one of these sharking infestors. And I think he took a little look at his own drone count, just like you just did. And he's like, I'm actually playing a dangerous game here, because if one of these fights does go bad, I have 60-something drones. I am nowhere near maxed out. I lost one of my bases. Let's go ahead and slow this game down a tiny bit, and then we can just continue doing what we have been doing for a very long time, and that is disrupting the economy of Cure non-stop.
So many mules, those orbitals still active, keeping Cure's mineral income alive, quite frankly, is the only thing that's doing it. As this medevac gets pushed away. What Reynor was doing initially, why he had, I think, so much trouble in the top right as well, was he's trying to mine the furthest out base more than the others, so the drones were kind of exposed in the first base Cure came across. Maybe just feels like that base is more easily denied, and so wants to mine it now while he has control of it. So, little things.
I don't like it when Zerg players do that, because it's kind of silly when they have some of these scenarios. They're like, we're 10 base, but then they're only mining out the minerals on their side of the map. And then they've had control of a certain base that might be 50-50, whether it belongs to the Terran or the Zerg. They've had it for 12 minutes, but then they only ever had like 6-8 drones on it. All the mineral patches are still there. If you then ever lose control of that base, your opponent basically still has a brand new base to work with. So sometimes I think it's okay to start mining of those further away bases. Yeah, you're more vulnerable, but in the long role, it should really pay off.
A couple of ghost knives, as we are going to see one ultra going down. Reynor just happy to see that orbital lift off. And again, deny whatever mining we can there. Great Aspire coming up too, so again, the preparation for a potential switch into Broodlords if he feels that is necessary to put the finishing touches here to the game. Right now, the army supply is in favor of Cure because he's only on 24 SCVs. He's refused to leave that low SCV count. And that means if he does max out, it's going to be one terrifying army, which is maybe something you need something like Broodlords to deal with, rather than kind of this swarminess.
I'd love to take a little look at where all of that army supply is. I don't know if it's Mapu or Niall who's controlling the camera this time around, but yeah, if Cure is working with 128 army supply, we've got 14 siege tanks. I haven't really seen them, so I'm kind of wondering where they are, because this should really look like a Terran cinematic. No matter where you scroll, Terran forces will be there. There's not a lot in the natural, actually. I know the natural might not be that important anymore, but there's still a lot of, I would say, relatively important production facilities in the main and natural.
Yeah, the Overseer is going to set up there as the Hellbat drop comes in and try and play cleanup on this Knives, which is about to finish. We'll see if anything can pop out. Just a couple of Banelings looking for STVs as well. That base will start to burn. This Knight just does nothing, but it does bring some units back, of course, forcing Cure to pay attention. He will just keep on trying to mine from his 5th base. And there we do go seeing Broodlords on the way up. It's so tank heavy that Broodlords feel like obviously a fairly solid choice at this point.
I mean, we're building more tanks as well, we're building more Hellbats. For a while, Cure had a crazy amount of Thors, but Thors are obviously expensive, and he's been hurting economically for the last few minutes. He's gonna fire up another one now, I do like it. How many Thors were remaining? I know we just took a look at it, but I already forgot. 0! Yeah, okay, now Broodlords are insane. Sure, 10 goals are nice and all, but if Reynor can just trade out, let's say, a few of these Ultras, you trade out a couple of his remaining Roaches, throw away a couple Zerglings, you show up with 10 Broodlords now, those 10 goals are going to have a very hard time holding the line.
Oh, absolutely. As the medevac boost across to the left, Bling is going to catch those couple of Hellbats, get rid of those. Of course, Reynor, you look at the mini-map, it is still very much so his game when you look at it from that point of view. And if these Hellbats go chasing down those drones, A couple of Thors, the Hellbats coming up, the Broodlords are on the way out still, 4 more of them as we lose a little bit of supply, frees up some for them Broods, and the Lings are going to come running by and just going to go into a couple bases again, looking for the siege tanks, right, which he found a couple of before. This time he's going to get 2 once again and just sneak the Lings further in, just being so annoying and so quick, right? You mentioned it, that's how Reynor likes to play, and that's exactly what he's keeping on doing here, is he's even going to get a turret.
I've seen it for like 12 years, and it still surprised me how quick Zerglings with +3 melee and 3 no-glance kill stuff. When they get on top of a tank or they get on top of certain production facilities, you're like, yeah, no, like Lings are upgrade. You're like, oh my god, everything dies so quick. It's crazy. But of course, one of the downsides of Zerglings is that they will always be low on HP, so they'll always be rather vulnerable to splash damage. If Hellbats can get on top of them or tanks are able to fire a few times, it's fine. But if the Lings can get on top of their target, I mean, they're terrifying.
Kira's going to be maxed out, 165 supply. This is kind of the moment where you feel like attacks like this might not be as pretty. A lot of the Banes went off on the Thor there, so that was actually a lot of explosions. We are going to force these orbitals to lift. And Reynor just again rebuilding into more and more of those Broodlords.
Bottom left, I feel like there is a command center floating there, right? That is one that I do think Reynor wants to... He wants to make damn sure that Kira never gets his hands on that. Because while we were playing the Leslie Knight, the 5th game, we got a bit carried away, right? Let's go ahead and kill Kira on 3 bases. And that didn't quite work out. Now Cure did become that 5-base terror, and even if Cure had to spend a lot of resources on rebuilding units over and over again, rebuilding a couple of the command centers and planetaries and whatnot, but the bottom left, most of the time it's a little bit easier for the Terran to get bottom left once you have control of this area, and I think it's really time for Reynor to get some value out of these Broodlords. He's got 10 of them in total, 5 Liberators, 10 goals, and 3 Thors. That's what Cure currently has to shoot up and deal with those Broodlords.
Just going to find a different angle for these Broods. Going to drop on, get rid of the refinery, and continue to leak into that mineral line. We've got a couple of libs setting up as well, so that's something that Q can utilize as part of his army. Obviously great if you can get those libs set up to zone out Infestors so that trying to lurk forwards and find a fungal during these fights. But you have to kind of figure out where you're going to set up to stop that from happening in the first place, and right now Q is not really sure. He's kind of hanging back behind his own base, letting these Broods continue to get a couple of shots off, and okay, they're not doing loads, but we're getting very close to being able to maybe jump on that base, force it to lift off, the SCVs evacuate, and yeah, this is where Kyo's going to decide to make a stand just about here. Can't afford to fall any further back, he says.
Reynor's bank is monstrous, and he's got over 100 larvae to work with, by the way, so he can pretty much max out whatever the hell he wants. Mostly Zerglings. I mean, 1200 gas is going to give you a couple ultras as well, but Reynor is basically, I think, okay. We're taking an all-out fight soon, and maybe those Broodlords in the end will fall. He's going to have a much easier time rebuilding everything than Cure. You look at Cure's mineral bank, it's 7 at the moment, Waddy. I don't believe you buy a whole lot with 7 minerals at the Terran market.
He's about to drop a lot of mules on that right side base he just took, but Reynor's kind of running over here. I think he's aware of it. This is a big tank setup, a few Hellbats to tank as well, and that means that those ultras get turned around. Now Reynor may want to be a bit more kind of focused on pushing forwards here and just sending it, because knowing that there's a lot of units split off over to the sides obviously means that this base is more vulnerable, and you want to start denying one of these locations sooner rather than later. Yes, this one's lifted up, but you want to be able to start rotating back around to that right side and never let Kyo truly mine off of it.
152 army supply for Cure, as I do like the way that he has positioned the Terran units here. Beautiful concave Thors all the way from the top right to the bottom side, and a couple goals showing up as well towards the very end. Reynor clearly is looking for an opening. Lings and Ultras not going to get it done on the right side, so maybe you can bring everything you have right now, kind of like you said. Land a couple of the Blinding Clouds, Fungals, right? Like, that's a powerful army that Cure has there, defending the original 5th base he really wants to take, but that's not an invincible army. I think if Reynor grabs everything he currently has, he should be able to take a perfectly fine fight against this.
Spores are going to press on up. We're just going to get a little bit closer. The Liberators are sieging once again. Broods still just lurking behind as we have the opportunity to just dive further forwards here, maybe try and take down this position. Obviously, again, a little bit standoffish. You're going to see Liberators just get abducted, so they get shut down by the Spores. Doesn't last very long. Got the Queens here too, and Broods, again, looking for the chance to move on forwards. The couple of Fungals kind of whiffing, and the Broods not doing too much. And Curious set up in the upper right. He actually wants to try and start denying some bases of Reynor, so some progress here. However, this allows this group of units to get active, and we are going to go diving in with Ultras and the Banes. And the Banes knock down the Hellbats, and thus the Ultras focus on the siege tanks, and Reynor begins to play cleanup. May not be enough, but it really takes the wind out of the sails of this attack.
Might barely be enough, even though that one tank should really hurt. It's in the dead zone! One Ultra! One Hero Ultra wins. Be a real shame if he steps into the circle now. At the same time, Reynor is going to try to take another fight over here at the center left side of the map. Pretty good fungals, but a lot of the infestors did get picked off. It does feel that these Broodlords are just untouchable though. It's not really doable for Cure to carry again on top of it. As the Liberator is gunning down a lot of drones on the top right, but Reynor really has cracked Cure wide open here. A lot of links and that one hero Ultra getting on top of this base. If Thors are trying to run for the hills, we have mass repair. Cure losing basically access right now to the two most important bases he had. The two bases that pretty much gave him income, because the other four have completely dried up at this point.
You just saw the stressed out Cure face, some hair in the cheeks, a little bit of an excessive exhale. Yeah, he's definitely feeling like this one has absolutely slipped away, as he's obviously kind of hung on in there. We're 30 minutes in on Site Delta, by the way. It's not been a short game. And Reynor obviously just has all the bases, top right, bottom left, you name it, he's got it. I mean, at this point, he might even drop a hatch on the base. He's been denied of Cure so long because Cure just doesn't have that much anymore. The one thing he was holding on to was that mass army supply. Well, that's just not really existent anymore either. So yeah, everything that Cure once had is kind of gone here, and this is just going to be a struggle. As now Reynor can obviously focus on the right side because he denied the left. Now the Brutes can come over this side, and that's one of the other bases Cure's mined from a little bit. If he loses this, he really is just down and out.
And this is a little similar to that game that I mentioned at the very beginning of this best of 3, where I was like impressed by Reynor's late game, where I felt like he has learned how to be even more patient than before. That you just can't always force your way through, no matter how rich you are, no matter how many drones you have. There are moments where you're gonna have to slow down the game a little bit too, and I think this was a perfect display of that, right? Reynor really picked his battles well, and at one point he realized he was getting a bit too carried away, took a step back as GG gets called, and Reynor does win the final best of 3 of the day. He had to work hard for it. It was a